how to tell a story, how to tell the company story, how to get recruiting, how we can help you build your downline. So the question for you is, who do you know that wants to join the #1 Keller Williams office in Georgia, a high-energy brokerage who invests in their family of agents with cutting-edge tech, a superior leadership team who supports their agent at a high level, who offers extensive training and coaching at all levels, who we can pour into and help them achieve and surpass their goals? Who have you worked with recently that is not a Keller Williams agent that you feel would benefit from Keller Williams Peachtree Road? Please write one name down and hand it in and let me help you build your downline. Yes?
Free money.
Free money.
Free money.
Adi, talk to me about free money.
For money that comes into my account every month.
Money that goes into Adi's account every month on the 21st of each month.
Yes.
Because he changed somebody's life. And the air in the room got real funky.
Yeah. And in reality, those people actually changed my life.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you're thinking about profit share, the positive way to look at it is this. Whose life can I change? And therefore, by changing somebody else's life, will change my life. Because if it is a passive stream of income. How many passive streams of income should we have? As many as possible, at least 7. All right? Profit share is your first one. Referrals are your second one. Yes? How many of you are uncomfortable talking about profit share? How many of you have somebody in your downline? Vince, raise that hand high. This is like my #1 recruiter right now. What? If you don't, I'm happy to have a private discussion with you of how we can help you build your downline. You know me as very honest and trustworthy. When Cara and I do recruiting appointments, we do not fib, we do not put on rose-colored glasses. We tell our recruits the truth about what real estate is all about and how we can help them succeed. Send them our way. Let us help you build your downline. Okay, I'm off the soapbox. Please turn off your phones, Joe. You're so lucky because I heard that, but I hadn't said that yet. I heard it. All right, Charlie, come on down.
Hello, everyone.
What's going on?
Hey, I'm Charlie Pollard. I'm a closing attorney. Charlie at MMHfirm.com, McMahon McLeod Heller. I'd love to help you out sometime for a closing or anything at all you think I can be helpful with. I'm happy to answer the phone call. Couple tips today. These are things I've brought up before, but it seems it's good to hear more than once. When you get the CD, when you get the alta from your closing attorney, couple very important things to do. One, if you had any amendments, sales price, adding a home warranty, changing the seller pay closing costs, obviously don't assume that those things are on there. You can always fix those things at the closing, but it saves a lot of time and stress and hassle. Just make sure you look out for those amendments that you had along the way. Now, one of the big things that's a lot of times associated with amendments is the seller pay closing costs. This is something I've brought up probably 10 times in this room, but I had it happen twice in the last week, and both really seasoned agents, they just missed it. So sometimes those seller pay closing costs, when you're on the buyer side, it's a lump sum, right? $9,000, $5,000. Well, sometimes the lender or the circumstances are such that the buyer doesn't get the full benefit of that seller pay closing cost. A couple reasons for that might be that the closing costs just aren't that high. So if you put in that your buyer gets a $9,000 closing cost credit from the seller, and the closing costs only end up being $7,000, what happens is all the closing costs get paid, but that's $2,000 is a windfall on the seller side, and there's just nowhere to put it. And there's nothing you can do at that point other than say sorry, because obviously that was facing your sales price. And you kind of you may have whiffed on eating $2,000 for your client right there. There's a couple other reasons why that may happen. There may be some lender restrictions on the loan product about how much cash the buyer has to have in it. But the point being is make sure, one of the most important things you can do so you look good at the closing, or don't look bad I should say, is make sure that your buyer gets that full number. If that full number is not on there, you need to ask the lender why, but there are a couple things you can do at the last minute to get that back up. One of the most common things, I'm sure our Supreme folks may have some ideas too when they come up here, but one of the most common things is adding a home warranty if there's not one already. You can add that on there, and that eats up some of that closing cost. You can get a survey, or a couple common things that people do, because if you don't, you can add those things up to get that closing cost number up. The seller's going to pay for it. If you don't do it, you're just eating it on the buyer's side, and you have to explain to your client that you overshot when the seller pays, and then they end up eating and paying a little bit more for the property than they want to. Yes.
If you try to throw the home warranty on, does that have to be an amendment? The seller will pay for it?
You know, the thing is that when you're at the table, I mean, the sellers agreed to pay whatever that number is. So they really, you know, they don't have a lot of, there's not a reasonable pushback to say no, not now, because it's in the contract. It's still there. It says they'll pay for it. I mean, you can get a couple of hiccups with your lender because you might have to get a new closing disclosure. The attorneys have to scramble a little bit, but ultimately, I mean, we see this every once in a while. And the last thing we want to do when y'all come in is to explain that they ate that money. So we probably do get one because everything lines up, but you probably don't have to have it. Because here's the thing, when you get that seller pay, when you get that home warranty and you put it in the buyer's column, it's a buyer's closing cost. And the sellers say they're going to pay up to a certain amount of buyer's closing costs.
Yeah, another thing I was told to do, if you catch it early enough, is to buy the rate down.
You could possibly do that. I mean, I would defer to the lenders on that.
Right.
But the key on that is finding it early. The earlier you see that, the more options you have about things you can throw on there.
Charlie,
Yes.
thank you to your post-closing department for having such amazing records. Did a transaction recently that I was actually on the buy side with Charlie a couple years ago. Found a lien on title. Charlie found a lien as well. We got the cancellation from Charlie and McManamy. So it was no big deal.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that, John. We do keep, for the record, we do keep every piece of paper that flows from the very first thing you guys sent us to the last thing we sent to the county. We keep all that electronically. So
I know my closings are sometimes not easy, so I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Question for Charlie.
And the 9,000 would be an allowance.
You know, one other creative thing that I have seen people do, not necessarily that, Steve, but every once in a while, lenders will allow you to like prepay HOA like dues. So you can get creative. So there's always something to do. The point being, find it early so you can scramble and gobble up this closing cost.
Right. Thanks, Charlie.
All right.
Come on down, Supreme Dream Team.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you to everybody that came out yesterday for the condo CE. I think we had 29 people there, so that's great. I'm glad we're getting all the CE in. We're super happy to be able to host it. He's going to tell us about our next CE, and then we'll go over October CE too.
Yeah, so next week on Thursday the 26th from 12:30 to 3:30, we are bringing back Lisa Myers to do our credit CE class. Now if you haven't taken this class, it's a great class, not just for your customers, but for you, your family. What you're going to learn will, I promise you, make you the credit expert in any room that you sit in at any time. So there's so many really good, great nuggets that you've never ever heard of. So make sure if you haven't taken the CE, come take the CE next Thursday with Lisa Myers.
And then in October, we are bringing back the Mastering Appraisals with D.S. Murphy. We have 2 dates. We're trying something new. We're going to do it on a Thursday, October 17th from 1 to 4. And then we're going to do it on a Saturday from 10 to 11 on the 19th. So if you can't make it during the week, that weekend CE hopefully will be good and you'll be able to get the Mastering Appraisals class. Thank you guys. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks so much.
Wait a minute, Kim. Next month is October. What's the end of the month?
Oh, we're having a decorate your cube, decorate your door Halloween contest, and I believe a costume contest.
Right.
So get those wheels turning because we want to see some good costumes and we want to see some great decorations on the doors and the cubes. And I've already started my decorating, so you guys better get going.
Thank you.
Something really scary.
Alrighty, so coming up on October 29th, we have a little bit more information about our event that's being provided by Region and Gary Keller. Outperform the industry and love your life. Again, this is the recruiting event, remember. This is not to go out on Facebook or any social media. This is a private invitation from me to whoever you would like me to reach out to. And it's being hosted by the very own Jason Abrams and Cody Gibson. And it is not a KW branded event, although obviously it is KW. It's a day of education for those you know that maybe you've co-opted with that are a capper, and if you don't know, I can look up their production. It is only for cappers and above, and they're going to teach you how to outperform the industry and love your life. So again, the sheets that you have on the table, give me a name and put a little note, possible capper, and I will invite them to this on your behalf. Okay? All right. All right, and again, Mega Agent Day 2019 is coming up October 16th, Wednesday. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet and you're going to, I got an email today from Lisa Romine that there are less than 50 tickets left. So if you're planning on attending, I would suggest you get your ticket today because team meetings are today and tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure we'll be sold out by tomorrow afternoon. So if you're interested in finding out information, nuggets from top agents across the country that have over $2 billion in sales, this would be the day that you would like to come to. Okay? All righty. We got a little video for you. So, obviously, we're a tech company that dabbles in real estate, right? Okay, so nobody's heard that? Okay, so Gary says we're a tech company that dabbles in real estate. And so when I took over as team leader, I decided to get rid of the paper And we started a new vendor program. This is not costing the Market Center anything. So we revamped the vendor program, upped some of the platinum sponsor fees, and anybody who's a platinum sponsor, within their membership, they bought us a TV. That's why you're seeing TVs all around the Market Center. So we have a town hall TV, there's a closing TV, there is a monitor now in the bullpen that will be for listings, there's a monitor right out here that will be for profit share, there's going to be a class one right here. So those are all provided by our vendors. So when you see our platinum vendors especially, thank them for their help in making us a technology office. I just wanted to let you know that what the TVs right now, Kayla is in the process of creating all of those videos. Yes. We love you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to give this one to you. Go ahead.
As you all know, Command is rolling out full force after the 15th, so all of your opportunities, all of your contracts will now be submitted into the opportunities for compliance. Of course, the commission part is not open yet, so you will still be doing green sheets to get paid. But once the green sheets go away and the commissions tab open, then you will be submitting your whole contracts through the Command system. There are tons and tons of information coming out about Command every day this week and moving forward. One of the most notable updates is the new dot loop function that is coming soon. Soon there will be a banner inside of the Opportunities tab for you to upload all of your loops into Command. I don't have the date on when that is going to be available, but they are letting us know that it's rolling out in all of the Market Center, so it should be rolling out to us pretty soon. And then of course, if you want to go to KW Connect, in there you have your Command transition. It's a lot of good information in KW Connect so that you can up yourself on the knowledge in Command. Of course, you can go to answers.kw.com, live chat in Command, or call the support hotline, or email support@kw.com if you're having any issues with Command, or if you have questions that need to be answered. Or you can also come see your tech ambassadors in the office, myself, Chris Yates, Aaron, Faye, Lori, Alexis.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Chris is not here because he is actually going on a live stream call at 1 o'clock. So he apologized for not being here. And Kayla took the reins and took care of that. Anybody have any questions for Kayla? No good? Okay. We'll move on. Upcoming classes. I see Cara in the back of the room. Come on down.
Hi guys. So super excited. We want to thank all of you that were in this morning's top 20% with Justin Landis. For those of you that were here, was that beneficial for you all?
Yep.
Yeah? Awesome. So you'll take note that we have coming up next week, it is Stump the Mega with Rich Richardson. If you haven't been before, it's a really awesome opportunity for 1 hour to come and just give your hardest and best questions. They're going to be there. And you know what? We haven't stumped a Mega yet, and I'd really like to stump one, so please help me with that. We also have more dot loop and green sheet classes coming up, contract classes. So if you need just a little bit more clarity, right, because there are changes to your contracts all the time, please come in, have a seat. Kathy's phenomenal. She's giving up a lot of time to make sure she goes through them line by line. And then something that I'm really excited about, we have a listening boot camp coming up at the end of the month. So no matter where you are in your business, it's always great to sharpen that skill set, right? So that's going to be, you'll see, it starts Monday, September 23rd, the 24th, and then also on the 25th. And then we do have another CE at the end of the month, and it's the fundamentals of credit. And again, it's our lovely lender, the Supreme team, that will be having it. So if you haven't noticed, we have several CEs every month. So please make sure that you're keeping your license renewed, up to date, and getting those CE credits. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Cara, I have a question.
Yes, how can I help you, Dory?
How do I know how many hours I have?
Great question. So, is everyone familiar with what the Georgia Real Estate Commission is and how to access their website? Yes. So when you log in to track, it'll actually show you the amount of CEs that you have. If you recently graduated from Ignite, it's not going to show that you have a post-license set of hours date you got your license, come and sit in on the class because we do not want your license to lapse. That was a great question, Lori.
And we don't find out your license has lapsed until 30 days after your license has lapsed.
Okay, say that again.
Yeah, say that one more
Say that
time.
one more
Wow.
time. Say that one more
We do
time.
not find out your license has lapsed until 30 days after your license has lapsed.
The operative word there is after, not before. They don't tell us until after. And
There should not be any problems getting CDs in this office.
no.
We have I would say there's anywhere between 3 to 5 CEs a month that are on the calendar now. Each class is worth 3 credits. I mean, worst comes to worst, come and sit in Ignite. That's a full 33 CE credits. So if you don't have at least 16 transactions a year, you should be in Ignite. I mean, true story, right?
Right,
We
it's the
actually
foundation.
we have a day session coming up, and that's going to be in the very beginning of November. So if you need it,
That'll be the last Ignite session of the year.
last Ignite session of the year, you are not hitting at least 16 transactions in, or you need to just refresh your business, or someone on your team needs a business refresh, send them to Ignite because you will see a difference in your numbers. And what a great way to get the year started, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Anybody have any questions for Cara? Alrighty, moving on. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll be here all day.
Thank you. Go to tap dance. Hogan Copeland, come on down.
That picture scares me.
So I had the good fortune to meet Hogan by phone through Richie Torrance through a fundraising activity they're working on, a nonprofit, a couple weeks ago, and I was so impressed with all of his knowledge. He's been in the real estate economic forecasting business for over 30 years, and I just kind of flippantly said I would love for you to come to talk to my agents when you're in town, and he said, sure, when do you want me to come? I was like, yeah, really? Cool, that's awesome. And so I'm very excited about this. From my brief interactions with him, and he's very down to earth, very easy to understand, which is really good because this is some high-minded thinking. And so I'm just going to turn it right over to you.
Well, I slept in Holiday Inn Express last night. Dory, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
It's an honor and privilege to sit here. I'm going to do something different. When I usually give speeches, we get into a real and I'm going to do something different. So I'm going to go through this and educate you from a different aspect of the real estate market. And feel free to ask questions during it, because I think that'll help. A lot of people get to see this stuff and they're like, I don't know. Just ask the question. I'll answer it. If I don't know it, I'll leave. I've been retired for about, I just turned 56 last week, but I've been retired for about 4 years now. And I came to Atlanta. My daughter lives in Atlanta. I have 2 grandbabies up here in Atlanta, so Grampy likes to come to Atlanta. Plus he likes the Braves. But I got in touch with this character named Richie, and we met at a Starbucks. And I had this old T-shirt on and shorts and stuff like that. Well, Richie, what did I tell you?
Hope you had a 3rd grade education.
That's right. But I went to Florida State, but 3rd grade education.
Just like you told me, dirt farmer.
So basically, when I graduated FSU, I was the youngest MAI in the country. I was just turned 20 years old. And MAI is a member of the Appraisal Institute. And that's what I studied in college. Got a degree in real estate finance. Appraising, I'm not going to talk about today because that about squirreled my mind. But I used to do high-rises, buildings, shopping centers. We had a big thing with Publix. We did all the feasibility studies for all the Publixes in the Southeast. We could tell you if that market's going to be hot or cold, and traffic counts, people moving in. And I guess halfway through my career, or 10 years into my career, I started really looking at data and looking at data and analytics. Does it really tell the truth? And data does, guys. I mean, you know, if I stopped somewhere this morning and got something, used my American Express card. So guess what American Express does? They know I'm in Atlanta. They know I'm sitting here in Atlanta and I'm buying this. And they pattern the data, and that's why you get stuff in your credit card. Oh, I like, I'm not gonna say I do. I know someone in my household buys Jimmy Choo shoes. And this is a true story. I'm at the Mayo Clinic. I live in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, which is outside of Jacksonville. And I live in Boone, North Carolina. And I go to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. So I'm sitting there in the Mayo Clinic, and this gentleman sits down next to me, and we just started talking. And he introduced himself. He goes, by the way, I'm Jimmy Choo. I said, man, where in the hell I heard that from? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like scratching my head, and I'm like, who in the hell's Jimmy Choo? So I got back to the house, and I asked my wife, I said, this man met me at Mayo today. His name's Jimmy Choo. Oh my God. And I said, he gave me his number. Here's his card and his number. When I were in New York, call him up. And she goes, oh my God, don't throw that away. I'm like, oh God, I'm in trouble. So going back to real estate, and I've told this in front of everybody. I don't care if it's a congressman from Georgia or Florida to a senator to whoever. And I said, look guys, I haven't told presidents of the United States this. The heartbeat of America is real estate, is housing. I remember sitting in a team with President Bush. And everybody's looking at me when I say that statement. Can I back it up? You damn right I can. And the heartbeat of this country is housing. This right here, these little houses here we got in the picture, that's your heartbeat. That's like you and I sitting here, we got heart going, hopefully. So what we did, I was kind of relaxing in 07 and 2007. I'm sitting there in the pool looking at the Atlantic Ocean, just relaxing. And my wife says, Hogan, Senator Martinez is on the phone for you. I said, uh-oh, I wonder what he wants. He was a senator in Florida, and he sat on the Senate Bank and Finance Committee. And he calls me up, and he says, Hogan, can you come up to Washington? I said, yes, sure, Senator, what do you need? He says, well, you come highly recommended. I said, oh, God, who have you been talking to? And he says, all right. So I get up there. Senator Martinez went to law school at Florida State. And I'm sitting at his office, and he says, Hogan, you were recommended. I called FSU, I called some others, and they said, you're the expert. They don't use my last name, they call Hogan. Now, Washington, I'm going to call Big Hogan, and I'll tell you that story in just a second. So I get up there, and he says, Hogan, can we get you to like look into something called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? So I said, yeah, what do you want to know? He goes, do you mind working with the FDIC, with Sheila Bair and all this? I said, Senator, I mean, respectfully speaking, I mean, can you give me an idea of what you're talking about? So this is towards the end of 07, 08 kicks in, and we're going up there to Washington, and it really started getting heated up in April, May, June, July. So I go into Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. We have a team. We're starting to look at their asset portfolios, and I have extensive knowledge in mortgage-backed securities, and that's why when y'all sell a house, the bank buys the mortgage, the bank sells it off to a pool, a mortgage-backed security pool. So going to Fannie and Freddie, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, something ain't right here. You know, it's like me having a pink shoe and a black shoe, and I'm like, man, something ain't right. So they had me and my team go in not only to Fannie and Freddie, we had to report back to OFEO. That was the name of FHFA, which is now the regulator for Fannie and Freddie. And I remember this was on a Friday, and they said, all right, and Jim Lockhart was there. And Jim says, Hogan, how bad is it? I said, you're looking at a 1.9 to 2.1 trillion dollar loss. Now guys, if I was sitting there behind the table and some ugly dude like me comes in and saying that, looks like I could take out half the team, I'd be like getting ready to throw up. I had a meeting with Sheila Bair. She used to be chair of the FDIC. About an hour after that meeting, Chairman Bair asked me, she goes, Hogan, same question, how bad is it? I can't get into the details with her because the banks are it's federal regulated. I still carry a very high security clearance on that, but I basically you get my gist about what happened. So I fly back to Jacksonville next morning. My wife comes up, oh my God, your BlackBerry's blowing up. I'm like, I'm taking a nap. I didn't get in till late. So, and I get this text, coded text, turn the TV on from DC. 10 o'clock that morning, Secretary Paulson and Lockhart, which was the director of the OFEA, took Fannie and Freddie in a conservatorship. My wife goes, Hogan, what is going on? I'm like, hell, I don't know. I'm just going up there. So basically, I'm kind of giving you a backdrop, and I'll tell you my name, and then we'll get into this, and it's really fascinating. So the reason I'm called Big Hogan, and you'll respect this, sir. I was up at doing a speech at the FMOCs, which is your Federal Reserve quarterly speeches. So my neighbor is a doctor, and he thinks he's Hogan's speechwriter. I mean, he's like gets off on this stuff. Oh, you need to use this word, this word. I said, Steve, if I get up there and start talking about cross-pollination, they're going to go get the padded cell. So he says, I got a better one. He goes, I want you to use this movie is called Hellfighters, that John Wayne in it. And basically what it is, a guy named Red Dare, he'd go out and put a stick of dynamite in an oil well fire and then stop the fire. So I'm up there and I'm like, oh God, do I do this or not? So I'm standing there and all these men are here, there's Bernanke and all of them, and I'm like, guys, we've got a mortgage problem and it's like oil well fire. And I'm going on and on and on. This guy raises his hand in the back of the room. He says, Mr. Hogan, you're not John Wayne. I said, no. And, but can we call you Big Hogan? I said, you're damn right. And I said, when I get back to Jacksonville, what I'll do is I'll get a red phone like Batman had with Commissioner Gordon and put it under a cake glass, and I'll have it wired right directly to it. I thought that room was going to fall out. And so I get going on stuff, but you know, they say I'm wacky. All right, so we need to. So basically, what we're doing is you got two versions of overseers in the Senate and the House. One is the Senate Bank and Finance Committee, and the other one's the House Services Financial Committee. They control the banks. They overlook the Fed. Well, I shouldn't say that. Fannie, Freddie, the NCUA, which is your credit unions. These are all lending abilities that y'all have as agents, you know, to push this. So so what we do, this is now unembargoed, so I can share it. I wish I could share, we just built a delinquency forecaster for the feds. And I can go down to your market, let's say you live in, my daughter lives in Smyrna, I can go down and tell you where that delinquency is going to be. And we can forecast it out 3.5 years. So I can tell you what an area is going to go good, bad, ugly. I can't do it. It's someone on that page bought this technology, and and I'm gonna aim to the right. So, basically what we do is we look at all the states. And so, Dory, if you could go to Florida, okay, here's all your states. And then we color code them to, like, you know, red's a problem state, green's good, blah, blah, blah. So we color code them. And what we're trying to do is, I was thinking about this driving over. Would you rather make $1 million in 1 year or $250,000 for 10 years? We're looking at sustainability. And, you know, and when y'all's side of it, and I'm not on this side of the house, but on your side, I would take the 250 all day long. Because that's flash and crash, the 1 mil. And I was listening to Dory's thing, and I was back there getting fired up. And it takes a lot for me to get fired up, but I was like, boy, this makes sense. And you got a good lady here to help this team. The team is not just M-E. It's spelled T-E-A-M. And think about that. My Miami Dolphins are trading everybody off in the world because they're not team leaders. They're team people. But think about it. So Dory, let's go to, I'm going to show you some stuff.
Keep going.
This is just, I call this economic. You get these guys that want to know everything that goes on in the world. So you have to explain how your data gets, or data gets put in there. But to give you an idea, Richie knows this, and it's out of the bag now. I was the chief architect for the mortgage, for the TARP, the $700 billion. And we had that thing ready to go until they still used it, but they had a little thing called a stress test. Everybody heard of that? Well, during all this commotion, they ran a stress test. And they found out that banks didn't have enough tier 1 capital to keep going. Because Sheila Bair and Bernanke could have just, and the FDIC is the hammer, guys. You ever seen those guys that throw hatchets up against the board? That's the FDIC. And they found out these banks didn't have the money to cover the losses. I'm taking it back now 10 years. Think about it. You've heard that word. Oh, foreclosure is a loss. So what we did is we're giving you basically a report card on each state. Can you go to Florida, Dory? I think it's...
Would it be easier if I give you the...
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is forward.
Okay.
And that's back.
Thank you. So if you look at now this is a little dated here because I can't share the new stuff, but let's just say it's pretty dang close. You look at these spreads here, and this is, let me go to the state like Florida. I shouldn't show you that. But here's the thing. You can get a copy of this from Richie. Richie will be glad to forward you a copy or whoever wants one. So each state we look at, and we look at empirical data, which means going way back. Okay? You notice here in 1991, data trends tend to stay pretty dang close with each other. I mean, you'll have spikes and all that. When I explain this, here's the first day I explain this. Who's ever eaten at Arby's? I don't anymore because it gives me gout. But think of the Arby's logo, the hat. Tell me if that don't look like a hat, Arby's hat right now. So let me explain how this works. So 91, here's the income. Y'all really need to understand this. Here's your income. And we look at that, the income in appraisal, there's three methodologies to value. There's sales approach, that's how you get your market value. There's income approach, and there's cost approach. And cost approach says, how much is it to rebuild this building? I can tell you to build this building like it is, where we're sitting right here, probably about 145 bucks a foot. So think of each square foot, 145 bucks. So we look at all three of these. So what happened in Arizona during the crash? You see what I'm saying? This spread gets so big, it's not sustainable. We look for spreads to stay like this that are sustainable.
What is the top line?
Well,
The top line, what is that, the hat?
well, that's the price of the. That's how high the sales
Price.
the sales price went.
Okay.
So what you got is, remember the word flipper, and flip my house, and some of the other great ones. Thank you so much. So that's the sales price. So what's happened is your sales price gets way up like that. A bank, one of the guys that was in here earlier was a lender, and a bank's looking at risk, okay? And so you get up that high, they're buying the Kool-Aid, okay? So I dubbed this piece from the top to here, but we were looking at a 15% spread there as a safe market. I dubbed that as false equity. And we have a shark, I swear to God, this is a true story. I laid in bed one night in DC, and I called my design team in Florida, and I said, look, I want you to draw a shark with the fin and then the mouth open. You go, Hogan, what are you on? I said, I ain't on nothing, I'm on orange juice. And if you take the shark, picture this as a shark. Look what down here. See the mouth opening? I got this revelation. I don't know where I got it from, but I woke up with it. So I started when we were going to meet with senators and bank or the regulators, I was handing out a picture of a shark. They're like, oh, what in the hell are you doing? I said, this shows you the gravity of it. And so, who was the leader in foreclosures? Arizona. My home state, Florida. Arkansas, look how close that is. California, you'd think that'd be a real bomb. They took a big hit. But here's the problem, what you see. See, it started in 04. We got so much data, we figured it out. It takes 3.5 years for this to develop. And I asked my chief economist, I said, David, what? He goes, I said, are you sure? He said, Hogan, I went back, I ran models left and right, and it's 3.5 years. Let me go to my home state. Oh, Arby's. Drive through, baby. I wish I could share some other stuff, but when it was at the peak at that, foreclosures in Dade County, which is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Broward. But foreclosures, 1 out of 5 homes is in foreclosure down there.
Wow.
Now? Well, back then, right?
Yeah.
And the short sales too.
So, let's go to Georgia. See, y'all, this is kind of crazy because when I drive around, Richie was driving me around. And I'm not going to get into the price point I was looking at. But I said, why are so many homes for sale out here? And, he said, well, this and that. You and I talked about the new tax thing. But Georgia is actually okay. So if I'm sitting here, now, you'll have problems across the country again, but look at your ratio spread. Remember I said 15%? You're at 11.89. Yes, sir.
But that only goes through the second quarter of 2017, and now
I can't disclose the new.
Right. Well, yeah, but I mean, we can assume that it's kept going, so it's much bigger than that.
It can and it cannot. There's two things, because if the income, per capita income, is increasing, it'll increase with the sales price. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see just the sales price go wide open. Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
you also said we gotta look at 3.5 years back, so, you know, as long as you were good 3.5 years back, in theory,
In theory, but we proved it with data. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
In different states, were there different primary reasons why we saw this happen? For instance, like maybe Florida and Arizona had a lot of second homes, and when the collapse came, some of those people bought their homes instead of guaranteeing
My
loans.
second home is in Boone, North Carolina. Huge foreclosure ratio up, or thing. Second homes. We had race car drivers that you see on Sunday, houses getting foreclosed on. The foreclosure is not the stigmatism that it was years ago. People don't care; they just drop the keys off and go. And this is a big problem because FDIC is not a bank; it's an insurance company. They're making sure y'all's deposits are safe. But the stigmatism of foreclosure is not there anymore. Yes, ma'am.
So talk about the dip here, like starting in 12, where the prices went down and the income went down, and what that means in that dip, not in the spread.
You had a spread here. You see the kind of the peak there. So if you look and you go down, about third quarter of 07 or first quarter of 08. That was kind of the peak up here in Georgia. Now this is an aggregate whole in the state of Georgia. It's not just for Atlanta. I can't show you the Atlanta metro. It's called MSA.
Right.
And that includes Sandy Springs and some, but as a whole, you're okay here. And I'd be like, yeah. And but let me go to.
She wanted to know, what does it mean when the housing price is below the income? When you saw
Yeah, the income was still pretty good, but the housing prices, well, that's when it turned, really.
Well, a foreclosure will kill a neighborhood.
Of course.
Okay, and let me give you an example. The area that I live in Ponte Vedra, I live on the ocean. And I see we had some high personalities houses get whacked from. And so this is a good example here. So let's say I want to say, I didn't know anything about real estate. What's the value of my house? I go to Zillow. So here's a 9,000 square foot house that just got foreclosed on. You got sold back to the bank, let's just say 2.53 million. Okay. Guess what? Zillow picks that up. It's very similar to my house in square footage. Well, the Zillow doesn't see amenities.
They don't.
Okay, and that's a whole different. This guy here was like, now Hogan, how do you combat Zillow? Look, Stan Humphreys, the chief economist, he's a friend of mine. They've asked us to come out and combat it. I'm like, Stan, I ain't getting in that mess. They're getting sued left and right across the country because someone says, this young lady says, oh, Zillow said my house is worth $900,000. And that's what they're banking on.
So, but I want to follow up. Can you go back to Georgia just a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can look back 3 years and project out 3 years, if we look at the dip and then you look at where the shark bite is, the mouth is open right there that you're talking about.
Right.
Can you help us look at that? And I know you can't tell us, but think about where that might be going.
So basically, you need to tell us.
Can I leave now?
Man's want to know.
We want the next show.
You can extrapolate for us.
Yes, you can just kind of
Yeah, hypothetically, that's good.
He doesn't have a magic ball.
I know, the crystal ball.
Let me tell you, hypothetically.
The numbers don't lie though.
My son-in-law calls me a lot. And he'll say,
Is he a realtor?
no, he's a lobbyist.
Oh.
He calls me a lot and he'll ask me. And I'll tell you, I'm just flat honest, you're okay.
The state of Georgia is?
The Metro Atlanta MSA.
So
You didn't hear that from me, but
So just projecting out.
projecting out, you're okay. 'Cause let me-
Income is steady but our prices have kind of stalled out.
Okay, but what will happen is, it's kind of a weird thing because they'll stall out and then the buyers will realize you're not hitting that number. But remember what I said back to sustainability, would you rather make 250
Right.
or make $1 million in 1 year? The house I looked at, Richie, I'll be straight up with you. Bank had it on sale. Now this is supposed to be our house so we can come to Atlanta, and it was like 1.9 million. And I told Richie all from 1.3.
That's what we're getting everywhere, low on.
That's right. And guess why? I'll explain why. People. Okay, so our kids are calling out of the house. Okay, I have a standard poodle. She has her own car. She's got her own. She really does have her own car, and so. The sizing it's not necessarily what you're doing or your marketing, but the sizing, people want to downsize, a bit. Plus, Trump, when he changed the tax code back, year and a half ago, I remember the officials at NCUA asked me the same question. They said, all right, what's going to happen on the higher end stuff? And for example, let's just say you're in a high-end house, Buckhead, whatever, in a $3 million house, and you're paying $70,000 a year in taxes. Okay. Personally, I can only write $10,000 not off. The other coming out of this thing, and that's a big. And then you got maintenance, you got all this. So one thing I'd tell you when you're dealing with potential buyers or sellers, or buyers especially. Educate them. Guys, educate these guys. Because it's not like you're the pro. Y'all know this market. I don't. I just look at data and look smart. But educate these guys. Get up and say, look, we aren't this area, help me with the area. I just want brain dead.
You want to go back to Buckhead, what you're talking about?
Buckhead. Okay, this area is great. We got the schools, okay? I don't know if they do or not, but
they don't.
You got the schools, we got amenities, we got shopping down the road, we got restaurants. Educate these guys. Don't use my French story, don't bullshit them.
Curse jar.
Huh?
Curse jar.
Okay. But educate them. Get them where they feel it's a decision. You remember, a house is the biggest expense and biggest investment for anybody. I don't care if it's J. Paul Getty or Hogan Copeland, it's still a big expense. I was with Richie the other day at Lowe's, right? He took me over there. He's my driver when I come to town. So we're redoing our house up in North Carolina. And I was telling Richie, I said, what I do is I try to go in and find these mix-match paints, And sometimes you can get a 5-gallon jug that's basically your color for $30. Help these people out. Let them understand. Get them feeling warm about you. Because what you're doing is you're selling yourself. Then you're selling your knowledge. See, I don't have that knowledge. You wouldn't want me to go on, hey, Hogan, you mind going meeting with so-and-so? No, I wouldn't. I'm not doing that. But sell yourself. Sell the positive energy. Y'all got a hell of an office right here. I was sitting back there listening to this gentleman back here talking and the closings, and you saved a closing or someone saved a closing.
She did.
Okay. Well, I'd be like, hey, you know what? But let me go. And then y'all keep asking questions. If I can answer them, I'll tell you. Now look at Hawaii. Hawaii's saying that the rents are higher than the sales. You ever been to Hawaii and see how much that stuff rents for? Mm-hmm. It's up there. Idaho, I can tell you they're going to have a problem out there. Georgia, I'm telling you right now, you're okay. But you got to say, okay, listen to my client, You know, quit worrying about price point. Kind of get it price point by listening to them. You know, if you got two people making $30,000 a year, don't be taking them in a $600,000 neighborhood. Now, I'm not trying to redline, but I'm just saying, listen to your client. They want to tell you they're excited about getting a house. So, Idaho's the issue. Illinois, I wouldn't worry about it. But let's go back to Georgia. That's what y'all worry about. All right, you hear all the news about job growth, all that stuff, blah, blah. Let me tell you something, guys. Y'all got a secret up here. When I fly into Hartsfield and I'm sitting there and I'm riding by that Porsche test track, Dory knows this, Richie knows this. I had a lot of eye troubles. I was coming back from DC one time, I had a blood clot blowing my eye. So I've had 11 surgeries on this side. One day it might be, who knows. But I have a problem seeing. I've lost depth perception and stuff. So when all this happened, my wife took all my toys away. Cars, boat, And so she made me sell my scooter, which crushed me too. But in Georgia, you have so much industry. Think about the corporate headquarters that are here. You got so much industry. So guess what? The jobs, to get those jobs in there, they're going to have skill set. And each skill set brings in, let's say bring someone in from Indiana, guess what they're going to do? They're going to need a house. So I'll tell you, I'll swear on a stack of Bibles, you're okay. And believe me, I get that question a lot. But what I'm excited about is some of the stuff that I know about, and I'll just briefly touch, is the feds want to see sustainability in housing also. They can't go through this again. Do you know how we were that close for the whole banking system to shut in 08? We were on call 24 hours a day with a private jet ready to go because we were scared that Bank of America was going to collapse. That close. And the joke on inside the Fed is they call it, instead of the Hindenburg disaster, remember the big airship? They called it the Mecklenburg. That's the county of Charlotte. Mecklenburg disaster. That close. Because they didn't have and I remember my mother, she was still alive, she says, Hogan, we're in a depression. And I'm like, man, I can't even talk to my mom. I mean, hell, my wife would sit there and beat me in the head with a pan. I'm like, I can't tell you anything. But the beauty of it is a lot of the stuff has been put in place, and there's still movement going to put more in place to keep the sustainability. I'll go back to you want to make $1 million now or $250 every year for 10 years. They're looking at the sustainability. I met with the Inspector General of the United States, and this guy walks in. I was scared. I really was, because you think Inspector General, you better have your fingernails cut, and you better be right. And he says, Hogan, we've been in the dark ages on this stuff. We want to be reactive. We want to be in a proactive instead of reactive. And I was sitting there like, interesting. But Washington sees it. They're not out there, and Fannie and Freddie, they see it. Hopefully we'll get a solution for Fannie and Freddie. Hell, they've only been in receivership for 11 years now. But that's a whole different game. I've been involved in a lot of policy, especially with Dodd-Frank law that President Obama signed. I just finished a policy with the FDIC with evaluation that'll allow electronic appraisals to be utilized in transactions under $400,000, which would help you out tremendously because you're waiting on an appraiser. And what we're seeing it from the appraisal side, that appraiser might not live in Smyrna. Hell, he might live in Savannah. So the technology we built for the government can utilize, we've actually modeled all, basically 110 million homes in the country. We know exactly what each goes. We even pull up data from the tax assessor to see if there's any improvements put on the house, like a pool, garage, whatever. We can even pick up plumbing and roofing. So when you do that, we can model it and tear it down. So a house that's got new roof, plumbing, and electrical, guess what, is worth more than one that's got one that's 35 years old. Yes, sir.
You talked about a receivership. What is that?
Like bankruptcy.
Okay, so that's what Freddie Mac and you said they've been in a receivership for the last 11 years.
That's correct.
So that
I can tell you the date, September 6, 2008. I remember that like it was.
Okay, so are they combating that bankruptcies? Or?
Well, you got to remember, Washington is a strange place. I'm not even going to comment further than that, but you got two elements. You got one element that wants to keep Fannie and Freddie there. You got another element that wants to privatize it. Okay? The problem with privatize, you don't have enough capital to fill that vacuum. Because let's say everybody in this room sells one house, and I think the cap on Fannie and Freddie now is what, 118 somewhere. Don't hold me to it, but for the state of Georgia. And so if everybody sold one here, what would happen if it did get privatized and they don't have enough capital? Guess what? That heartbeat just went boo. It just slows everything down. So Fannie Freddie FHA is a critical, it's like taking Coreg. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a beta blocker for, I take it. And it's a beta blocker for the heart. And if you have that, it keeps it in check. I know I'm at 121/73 basically every time I go in. I don't know how in the hell I do, but it's a needed thing. But you got to remember, politics is funny. They'll sit there and say, "Let's wipe out Fannie. Let's wipe out Freddie." What are you going to do? Who are you going to fill that vacuum with, or that void? So they're basically in bankruptcy. Just look at it. That's probably the simplest way. One thing, in each of these states too, there's other factors that go into all this stuff. I can't really get too far into it. But I wanted to show you, Washington, D.C. Well, that's a good one there. Remember all the stuff in Nevada? That was hit hard, man. That's a Arby's hat. And sharp. And it's funny, I talked to a buddy of mine at FDIC about 2 weeks ago when Richie don't have me working. And she said, Hogan, we're seeing Nevada the same symptoms. And a lot of it, you got to remember, guys, a house is not a commodity. It's where you raise your family. It's where you put your head down at night. You're not out there turning it 5 times a month or 5 times a year. We found Washington. Guys, y'all gonna freak out when you see this. Here's our illustrious capital. So,
is that state or DC?
Try buying a 1-bedroom condo inside the Beltline. You're talking $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, about the size of this room, if that. It just spikes out. I had a senator from Virginia. I'm not going to mention the name, but you see him on TV a lot. He says, "Well, it looks like we're in good shape." I said, "Senator, you're about ready to have another," but see, you got to understand, they got so much turnover in DC. So so when you get fired or whoever gets fired, they got someone to fill that vacuum, and you don't really have that much. But they were like 161% over back in 08. And that's just a recipe for disaster.
Hogan, is that DC or is that the state of Washington?
Wait a minute. I goofed up.
So you'd have to go all the way back to
State of
District of
Washington.
Columbia.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't sleep. I had babies crying all night.
And you loved it though.
That's where I'm leaving today. I'm going back in peace.
Richie, you gotta buy him something fast.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Now that's, yeah.
Wow. The state of Washington was pretty bad too.
At one point, that was an 08.
Now, wait a minute. But look at this, guys. At the end of third quarter of 17, you're already up to 114%. Now, let me ask you this. If I was a bank, let's just say it didn't say District of Columbia. If I was a bank, wouldn't I require, say, hey, I understand you want to buy this house at $600,000. You mind slipping 150 grand down as down payment?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to try to cover the risk that's associated with it. And I'm not going to get into that. Just remember what I said, Georgia's good. Atlanta market is solid. You're going to have price fluctuations, okay? But be honest with your seller. If I go and list a house, I'm not going to sit there just to get the listing and say, damn, I can get $900,000 for this because I'm good. Oh, okay. You got to be honest with them. Educate them. You don't ever don't show them stuff like this. They'll be like, but I'm here to help you. If you need anything, just get in touch with Richie, and he'll get you my email, and I answer all emails. And like I said, I think you've got a positive team here. What I've just listened, when Dory, you talking, and the young lady was doing the PowerPoint, I was like, man, that's all right. I'm gonna sign up.
Who do you know?
But one thing I wanted to close on is, when all this stuff went haywire, and one of the telltale signs that you can always tell is the abundance amount of credit that is out there in the area. And I'll give you an example. Car dealers are fabulous about this. A couple weeks ago, my wife was coming back in from Europe, and I was supposed to pick her up in Charlotte Airport. The plane kept getting delayed. This guy calls me. I got my poodle with me. Okay? Now picture this, big guy walk in with a standard poodle, walking into a car dealer. Because I didn't have nothing to do. And this gentleman says, what are you looking at? I said, I want to look at this thing here. And he said, man, finest thing on the market. Best thing. So I said, does it got a microwave in it? He didn't catch that. But I said, well, I got to make sure my dog likes it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, she likes to ride. He goes, oh man, you can't, all this stuff. Well, getting that down to the nitty gritty, I was trying to get a price out of him. He says, Mr. Hogan, don't worry about it. You can just sign and go. Think about that. Sign and go. And see, you got to understand, car dealers are Ford. In fact, a house we bought back in 2000, we sold it. I bought from Henry Ford's grandson down in Florida. And I remember going to lunch with him. Nice guy. You wouldn't know this guy's got 10 cents in his pocket. And so this is about the time they were rolling out that 0% financing, finance the car. And I said, Al, what do you think so? You gonna lose your money? Ford Motor Credit? No. We already have it priced into the cars. Think about that, guys. They know exactly, and I've tried to stress this crap in DC for years. got the cost approach, you got the income approach. So let's use those two as the automobile side. They know how much that car costs rolling out of Dearborn or wherever it came from, down to the penny, down to the lug nut. They know the income approach because they know how much that car will lease for or sell for, and it's just a function of plugging in the interest rate. That's the income approach. So they've got the sales approach down pat because they floor plan most of these cars out of these dealers. They have to report data back to Ford or Chevrolet or whatever. They got all three approaches. In real estate, we got one approach, sales. And I'm saying, educate you guys, help them out. It'll be worth so much more in the long run because guess what? You become a subject matter expert. You told me yesterday you walked 600 acres. What was my first reaction? Did you have snake boots on? I've done that. Not 600, but I've done a lot. But educate you guys. Help them out. You got a team, work as a team, make it happen. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What's the correlation between these graphs that you're showing and the market, the stock market? Because if the market adjusts every 7 to 10 years, and this timeline is showing basically a 10-year trend line, if the market adjusts, how will this affect?
The stock market, I'm not an expert on that, okay, but I'll tell you. If you go and try to buy a CD right now, and I checked yesterday, I might get a jumbo CD for maybe 245 basis points, which is 2.45%. Okay, so the market right now is paying a higher piece for deposit. I'm not saying deposits, but on an aggregate, it's a higher number. Like I said, the stock market is all based on interest rates. Now, I can tell you that interest rates going to take a little dip here pretty soon. Just a little, you know, I can't tell you basis points, but it'll take a little. And you got to remember that the mortgages are based off of 10-year treasury. That's your benchmark for a mortgage. Correlation. Give me the winning lotto numbers for Mega Million tonight, and you and I'll we'll go hang out together. But I can't answer that honestly. I don't. We've always tried to figure out what the correlation on auto sales are. Can't do it. We got the data. We got the data from Ford Motor. We couldn't figure it out. And guys, like we use the FSU supercomputers to figure this stuff out. And we model. Guess what comes up? Big fat zero. We don't know. Yes, ma'am.
So if real estate is the heartbeat of which is the country, the economy, whatever, Sean Ross has said that before. And we see a little bit of something in some states, and some states here, Georgia's kind of okay. So where in general, if interest rates are going down, prices have gone up, where are you
interest
seeing
rates will go down a little bit.
Oh, yeah, well, they're already down.
I know, but you're going to see another roll.
So how does that affect the general heartbeat then of the country and the economy if real estate is still pretty steady in the majority of states? Is that good? I mean, because that kind of goes back to the stock market.
Well, yeah, it's good because you've got people. The jobs are being created, okay? And I can tell you in Atlanta, jobs are created. You got to look at some states that are, here's a good example. I hadn't done it yet. I'll probably do it when I get back, going back to Boone today. Boone, North Carolina. They got a school there. You take that school out, that's 20-some thousand people. You got maybe 22,000 people, the residents of Boone. All right, what are the jobs? go teach at the school. You got Samaritan's Purse up there. And you can go work at the hospital. So you got three choices. Everything else, you want to go sling beers or whiskey drinks or whatever. That's basically what it is. I'm going to run that scenario because I'm very interested on that. But to answer your question, this is more of a function of jobs. When jobs start losing or, unemployment starts going up, these trends will change. The income will go down. But in some areas, the market will keep going up because there's I'm not an advocate of flip this house or the house busters or whatever they call themselves, because I think it's a crock of you know what. And I know some of the areas, A&E, I think it's A&E, they called us years ago, why don't you go in there and do one, call it the appraiser. I said, shit, I'm not I'm too ugly. And, but at the end of the day, I think if you concentrate, don't worry about the other ancillary markets, they'll correct themselves, just like Atlanta did when it'll correct itself. But it corrects with the income, and then the income will come back. You got to have people go to work. And you have the industry here, guys. Jacksonville, I can tell you right now, I was born and raised in Jacksonville. Okay, Winn-Dixie's in bankruptcy. We got a Publix, what do you call it, super hub because we're 95 and I-10. And, we got the Navy and stuff like that. But they're trying to get these manufacturing jobs. Amazon just put a big hub out there. Mercedes has got their distribution and hub because it's a port city. But jobs, you got to remember, you got a skill set job, let's say it's paying over 100, and you got someone paying $15 an hour. Do the math.
Thank you, dear.
I've talked a lot. Any more questions?
Anybody else have a question? Pretty much we can thank Hogan for coming in and giving us a Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday. Who is our... Tara Winslow will be doing her listing presentation, so we get to hear from Tara next week. So see y'all. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
If you want a copy of this, get with Richie. And you got my information. Now I'm in Boone.